Bitcoin has crashed from 46,000 down to 40,000. Cryptos have capitulated, and there is still more on the horizon for many of these cryptos. Let's have a look at that in today's video and what is coming up next for the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency market. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on timely information like yesterday's video where we were detectives on the Wyckoff schematic, looking at the potential of the insiders, the manipulation in the market, and how these markets could potentially fall. Now this has happened overnight. Let's unpack where we go from this point. So thanks once again to you guys who are smashing up the subscribe button. Let's go for 400,000 this year. We need more people to see how these markets are manipulated. And I've got a big one for you in this video as well to show you how it happens in social media. Twitter, X, YouTube, how it happens over and over again and the masses miss out. So make sure you share this content with a friend so they don't get fooled by those huge influencer accounts. All right, guys, let's kick it off with where we sit. We are looking at a lot of red on altcoins against their USD pair, against their Bitcoin pair. We're seeing Bitcoin down as well, and it is trying to come back and overcome the 50% level. Notice how the 50% level has been a key resistance level, and it's basically been like a magnet for this market. We've been discussing $42,200 for months now. Bitcoin has reached that target, and it is finding it difficult to overcome that level, particularly because this is the major range. We're essentially going to see some time where the market's held up here. Now, in terms of the short term first, yesterday's video, we were up at these levels. We were looking at the potential for BTC to come back and test some of these lows, as we were looking at this as being a short-term distribution phase. Yesterday, there was all sorts of bullish narratives. ETFs are going to be approved. There was rumors of it happening earlier than anticipated. There was talk by every single big head out there for 50,000, 80,000, whatever $1,000 Bitcoin you want to call it. That happens. This always happens at those peaks. And I want to share with you a massive insight in just a moment as to how you can pick this for yourself. It is pretty easy, but you have to remain unattached to your emotions. That's the hardest part. I know a lot of people think that it is much easier. It's really exciting, but trust me, it is the hardest thing to do in the markets. And even I'm still learning about this myself because it happens over and over again. We are human. The emotions always take control. So this is one of the big pieces of news or rumors looking at how Bitcoin would be rejected. Now, Matrix on Target, or Matrix Port, sorry, is a big market newsletter that goes out to many readers. The day before, they talked about Bitcoin being approved earlier and that the market or Bitcoin could go to $50,000. The following day, this comes out. We're looking at Wednesday, the 3rd here, and many are pointing to this as being the reason for the collapse of Bitcoin as we see it in the last 24 hours. And of course, that has spilled over into cryptocurrency and altcoins. If you've been an avid follower of the channel, you know we focus a lot of attention on cycles. Now, when we get to the end of a cycle, and I was looking at this being somewhere around that December period, the market barely got any higher than that yesterday and then fell back underneath those prices. And so when the time is up, when that end of that cycle is up, short, medium, long, you will see some sort of pause. No matter how much good news they keep trying to throw at the market, when the time is up, it is up. Always remember that and use it in your own trading and investing so you don't get caught out at the ends of moves like the masses will come later in this cycle. So we're looking at some sort of turn. I've talked about it for a long time. December, maybe Q1 of 2023. We are in Q1. I called it December or Q1 because, you know, it could spill over from December into that period. Nonetheless, let's just keep following what the charts are doing because at the end of the day, they can do whatever the hell they want. All we're trying to do is be detectives for this black side of the chart. So far, so good. Let's see if we can carry on with that. Now, we've got the red. What's going to happen next for these cryptocurrencies? We'll get to that in just a moment as we spill through those charts. But this is basically the piece of news that many will be pointing to. Let's not worry about that any further because, well, at the end of the day, we're looking at this as being a distribution phase. Something had to occur. That happened to be it. so be it. Manipulation happens in all markets. Don't get hung up on it. This was the biggest liquidation day that we have seen in the last 3 months. And I dare say it's probably one of the biggest in the last year as well. $600 million of longs liquidated, nearly $100 million of shorts liquidated. Put it together, you get about 700 million, or pineapple pen. So where to next for BTC? Well, we are looking at the possibility of a 20 to 22% decline. We have to wait for the market to eventually roll over. So far, we still have higher highs and higher lows on our Gann swing indicator. And if I can point you to the video description, you've got the 7-day free trial of the Gann swing indicator. Check that out. It helps and saves so much time with your trading and investing to uncover where these swing points are in the market for profit targets, for stop losses, for entry points. Really, really helpful. Okay, so if this is the top here, roughly 45,900, call it 46, well then we look down to around 20 to 22%, as that's what we've seen on the previous corrections for BTC so far in this cycle. I think we'll eventually see a bigger correction than 22%, so we'll look at that as well. Look at around the 30s, maybe even 35s, just in case. So if this is the top, well, 20% takes us out to roughly $36,500 or $37,000. So we can look that far down. I still think Bitcoin will trade under 40. I've been saying that all along, but now we can start to really feel that maybe this is even more possible now that we've seen the market pull back on such a significant drop here. So 22% takes us down to 35.5. So now you've got a rough target of between 35 and 37K. Now, if the market was to go down to 25%, it takes us down to the lows of the majority of these weekly bars, and that's around 34K. So now you could have a bit of a range between 34 and 37K as a potential re-entry point, knowing that it could still go further. All right, let's have a look a little bit further down to 30%, takes us down to 32K. That lines up with these previous tops for BTC from April into July. That's around 30%. And what if it was around 35%? Well, that would take us down to 29.8. Although I don't think Bitcoin is going to drop underneath these previous tops, I would still just have in my back pocket, well, it could wick down to those sort of 28K numbers, 28, 29K. I couldn't see it going much further than that because of this significant move. And we had the two previous tops. We've got a fair bit of support under the market now. And remember, these bases at 25K were built upon the bases of the rejections last time from August 22 and February 23. You got the base form on top and then it sprung away. So in terms of a medium and long term, looking at the cycle, this is a very, very healthy move to the upside. It's not a bear market rally in my analysis. And in terms of the downside, I think it's probably a bit far stretched to think that Bitcoin could come back into this zone. If it was to fall into this zone, just looking at structure, that would mean it is very weak again, and you probably are not going to see Bitcoin come back and reach significant high prices. It's not saying it's impossible, but if you start to break structure down into previous areas, although we hope for the cheapest price Bitcoin ever, if it breaks down, then the possibility of it moving higher is very, very unlikely. Like I pointed out in yesterday's video, just looking at some of the structure plays that you had several of these influencers looking at, where they were looking at Bitcoin failing here and breaking down and then potentially coming back, or failing in this zone, coming back under the 25K. That type of structure does not happen. It's not my opinion. That's just from studying technical analysis. If you get structure breakdown and then you think it's going to spring back up, we saw all sorts of charts like that in the past. It doesn't happen like that. If it breaks down, it stays under there because there is something fundamentally wrong. Insiders, investors, smart money are saying now is not the time and it needs to rebalance itself and digest the move for longer. So although we want the cheapest price, you don't want to see it go back under roughly $30,000 to $32,000 in order to maintain the bullish structure. If it does break down, it's going to be a lot longer, or it's going to be a lot lower of a target to the upside. So let's use our 50% tool from the low to the current high, and this could change if Bitcoin decides to go on another bit of a stretch to the upside, which isn't impossible. Using the distribution schematic here, maybe this is UT, maybe it's UTAD, so up thrust, after distribution. That's what that stands for. We could be in this B, we could be in C, but as we covered yesterday, I think it's possibly more likely C, and we are now starting to enter this D phase. So if we enter this phase D, then we're potentially going a little bit lower here, potentially breaking down from that 40K, which is why we're looking towards the 30K target, somewhere between the 30 and the 40K, and I'm looking somewhere around that mid 30s. I don't think we've got this in it. Let's wait and see. That's no big deal there, but we're just looking at the 50% level for now. How far down that is? Well, that brings us back down to our 22%. And almost dead on what Bitcoin did during the banking crisis. So it's a pretty reasonable area to look for a pullback. It comes into previous support and resistance. That's the sort of stuff you want to see for a reasonable target. Bitcoin can do unreasonable things. So we still say, well, maybe it could stretch a little bit further. But remember, our goal is not to buy the exact bottom. It's not to sell the exact top. Your goal is just to make a chunk of profits out of the middle and stay safe in the markets and remain here as long as possible. Ask around to friends, family, see how long they've ever been in a market. It's typically not very long because the majority of people lose at the end of the day. If you want to be one of the winners that stays around for as long as possible, these are some of the rules that you have to implement into your own trading plans, along risk management and money management. That's all gets kind of boring to talk about. Let's focus on the exciting times here, and we can talk about the boring stuff another time. So we have altcoins. They have been decimated. Continued down, crash. We had influencers returning. If you've been following on the channel, you know exactly what that means. If you're just joining us new or you've been around just the last few weeks, I'll explain this very quickly. And this is the deep understanding that I want to share with you about influencers. And it's not to put any of them down. In particular, I'm going to focus on one person who is an absolute gun at picking market sentiment. He's a gun at picking what you are thinking and gives it to you on a plate for you to lap up and enjoy that taste of good time feelings in your jellies. If you don't know who I'm talking about, it is none other than Alex Becker. He is the owner or previous owner of a company called Hyros, right down here, sold it for a staggering 110 million. Who knows how that was distributed? Who knows if he got the whole 110 million up front? Nonetheless, it is a massive staggering amount of money here, and it goes along the lines of AI software. They know what you're thinking and they deliver it back to you so that you lap it up and buy the shit that they're selling, okay? I'm not putting it down whatsoever. He's done a massive job in creating a company worth $110 million. That's why I pay attention, and I hope you do too. Here it is quickly. Hyros does all sorts of stuff. It does AI ad targeting. So whatever the crap you see on our Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, maybe Alex has had something to do with it. So he knows what you're thinking and he'll send it back to you. Okay. You've got some of the biggest fake gurus in the industry. You've got some of the biggest coaches, fake gurus, I don't know who, right? These guys have millions and millions of followers. They've all said it all works for them and they're increasing their profits month on month. The main point I'm making here is that they are using the product, they're saying it's working, and these guys have the most amount of eyeballs. If they have the most amount of eyeballs, they know what they're doing, at least in a marketing perspective. What they're teaching and coaching, I don't know, and I don't give an absolute flying F. So that's the basis here. He knows what you're thinking, and as I said, he's going to send it back to you and make you feel it all in your jellies because he knows that timing of the market at those peaks and tells you what you want to hear. And you want to hear the market is going to go up even higher at those peaks. So here is the big insight. You use it, don't use it, doesn't matter at the end of the day. Well, I think it'll help you because it's definitely helped me. Look at the dates. Look at the stuff they're telling us. This doesn't sound like much now because the market is down. On that date, 15th of December. This is the detective work now, and it never shows itself on the day. You have to wait and then play it out over time, and then you can reflect back on it and think, I was an absolute fool to think like that at those peaks. 15th of December, one of the dates. The other date is the 11th of November. Okay, so let's go back and do the detective work. The majority of you guys have probably seen this, but it's such a good reminder for what comes up next in cryptos, altcoin seasons, Bitcoin mania, because it will happen time and time again. The influencers returned at the exact peak or an exact peak, depending on which crypto. Here it is. We're looking at Chainlink for this example. And I love to look at the BTC pairings because we are putting more risk into the market. And if you're not beating Bitcoin's value, then you are wasting your time. So influencers returned here, 11th of November. Here is the video, 11th of November. These 7 cryptos will 15x December, yada, yada. It's always a BS title, but he knows how to title this. He gets the subs, he gets the eyeballs, 500,000 views on this thing, right? Feelings in jellies. This is your next clue. 15th of December, feel it in my jellies. And if you go through and read this, which I couldn't be bothered again, it was pandemonium on that day. Everyone loved it. Give it to us. We feel how we're all going to make money today. Okay. Keep that in mind. It's huge, huge, huge boost up. It's your hope. It's your optimism. It's your euphoria on a shorter term time frame. In the case of Link, it wasn't doing so well. It had already come down. Influencers returned that day. And as I had here, that was the day there, 7 cryptos. This is your date here, 11th of November. And he hadn't made a video on crypto. Well, he didn't make a video for 5 months. And then if we go back to crypto, it's basically 5 or 6 months earlier. So this was only one example of many, many YouTubers returning on that day of the peak or a significant peak in that particular altcoin. There it is there. Markets had already been up for hundreds of a percent. Guess what? They all returned that day. Okay, so now they're here. We can look at the feelings in the jellies. There it is there. The market was bubbling in mid-December and it didn't go anywhere from that point. Alex tells us the day before it's gotten a lot of jellies. Then he says sell all your crypto the next day, but he says he doesn't think there's going to be a top, which you can hear.
Consistently not nail tops, but get pretty damn close. Because, well, I don't think the market is going to tank this week or in the next month. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm eating 40 oranges.
So he got near the top. He got almost to the exact top. That's why I pay attention. But he tells you the opposite at the top because he is a master at getting eyeballs and delivering attention to the business owners who use the product here. So there's your Hyros. That's the way I'm putting this together. You do your own detective work, but that's why I'm looking at it here. So here is our mid-December date. So we get across to some of the other altcoins and what happens next. Well, Link, you can see it's down from that point. Let's have a look at ADA. We're just looking at some of the big ones here. And the arrows, we're looking at influencers return, market's already up. Then the jellies time. So it's basically just looking at the market overall, the euphoria at that period. And that's it there. It didn't go any higher. And if they did, as we'll see in some of them, there's really not much in it. And many of them are back down to that price now. So it's a time for short-term trading, which I'll let you know about TIA Premium. A lot of our members are short-term trading there, or you can be a long-term trader as well, long-term investor. It teaches you everything about how to be safe in the market. And hopefully I'm sharing with you how you can start to uncover the manipulation, the understanding of how the markets work, especially with the news headlines, and especially with what we are getting pummeled with in this day and age with social media, how they take our attention and then distract us from what's actually going on in the market, as opposed to just reading the chart, removing the emotion and all the noise, and then focusing on the money at hand here in the market. So that's ADA, that's the peak there. What about DOT? Polkadot's a big one there as well. Well, here is the influencers returning, dead on that peak, 11th of November. Then the jellies, everyone's getting super excited here, 14th, 15th there as it started to head down. So another peak in the market. It ran up, but then of course it's exactly back at that point there. So there can be a little bit left in the move. It's not always going to be that exact top, but just note that if we're waiting for that huge move to the upside, not much really happened from that point, considering where the markets had all come from prior to that. So that's a really, really important part there. These are all back to where they were. What else? Injective, massive, massive move here. This was when they all returned. The market was already up, in the case of Injective, which did very, very well, up 800% before influencers returned. So that's the first signal. There could still be some more gains left in this move once they return. So it's not always a dead-on signal that it's completely over, but it's usually a very big signal that the majority of the move had been had, which is why I was so confident on Bitcoin eventually stalling and then rolling over from that point. Now we're not there yet, so let's just continue on here. We could find support and then continue to bounce and hit 48K. It's just putting the pieces together because none of us know what happens on the black side. We're just trying to sway the probabilities in our favor. So this is how I'm reading the market sentiment. So back to Injective, there is the jellies day right at the end there, bit of a peak, a drop, a quick final bounce, and now we're all the way back down to those exact levels. So trader's game, not a longer term hold, not holding into an altcoin season where we're hoping for massive gains. That will come, and I am very, very excited for this pullback. This, I think, is going to be the great pullback for those bigger gains, the big ones that we're waiting for. These were fantastic. There's going to be even bigger gains. So it might all sound like I'm negative Nelly here, but we need to see the correction. There'll be another accumulation, and there'll be another massive move from this point. What else do we have? Let's have a look at Solana, because that had a pretty decent move. Influence of return, jellies, pump up, pump back down. Now down 28%, failed at the 50% level. Rune had a very good move. Influences return, feelings in the jellies, markets all the way back down as well. So that's all well and good, Jason. You've told us what we've already seen. I just want to prepare you for what we will guaranteed. That is something I can guarantee. We can guarantee we will see influences return at the peaks, and we will see them tell us all the things that we want to hear at those times. The lows are the times when no one is here. The lows are the times when it feels the worst. So what you need to do is watch this chart. Watch where the lows come in on the chart. And if they continue to get higher and higher, that is a key signal that those are going to be stronger cryptos. Where are we looking? Well, you've probably seen me talk about this before. Quarter 4, 2023, which of course is past now, and we are into quarter 1, 2024. Top and correction. I think we are in that now. Now I say I think because we're starting to see signs of that. I want to see the market come down a little more. I want to see the market put in a base, and then we can go back and say, well, that pretty much was the time. We never know for sure. As I've said many, many times, the black area on the side is something that we are all trying to play and play it our best. So what do? Let's look at some of the signals and the indicators that we use. The big one here, Gann swing indicator, link in the top of the video description. And of course, if you want to get on board with the premium members before this market takes off again, do that, link down below. If you subscribe to the TIA report, the free report there is also a discount code for the premium membership. So go ahead and do that now. Looking at the total 3 market cap, the levels we're looking at here for all of the altcoins, excluding Bitcoin and ETH, this one includes stablecoins, looking out for roughly $400 to $430 billion as a potential pullback here. You can see the previous tops. You can see where the market also had some previous tops. That is possibly going to be a reasonable support level for the altcoin market as we head through quarter 1 of 2024, at which point we could start to look for those altcoins which are holding up better than others, and then start to load those into our portfolios for this next bigger boom, which I suspect is going to be longer and stronger than what we have currently seen. And as a measure, because I always love to measure things, otherwise we're just hoping and praying. Well, the measure from the current move, say from October to the top, was 12 weeks. So a solid 12-week run, 3 months there. If you wanted to look at it from the June low, we also got a pretty good run there of 30 weeks, so about 7 months. I think this next move after we recover from this could potentially be 8 to 12 months, maybe even longer. Let's wait and see how this thing pauses, corrects, where it bases, and then we move from that point. Now I say 8 to 12 months, maybe longer, based on previous cycles. We can see from 2021, that was the peak in May, going back to the lows of March, there's 61 weeks. So quick maths, about 14 months. We had a significant correction, and then the market ran again for a few more months from that point. So if you wanted to put it all together from the March low to the November top, you had 87 weeks. Pretty significant time frame for the overall run. But remember, these lows felt like shit. They felt terrible, like it was never coming back. Is that going to happen this time? Let me know down below. Are we going to have a significant feeling of absolute crap depression before we get the absolute mayhem and mania? Link, that is your pinned question for today. Go down to the comment section. It's a pinned comment down there. Let's see what people are thinking. Major depression, or just something to digest over the next couple of months before we go on a mega mania. If you found value from the content, make sure you share it with a friend. We're going for 400,000 subscribers in 2024. And of course, it's all up to you guys as well. Hopefully it can help many people as we lead into the mania so they can make some money from the markets rather than make it in paper and give it all back. Let's do it. See you at the next video. Until then, take care and peace out.